Hello, beautiful souls. We did it. We got a website. So this video is going to be like my history of my spiritual journey. Now, it wouldn't be a lie to say that my whole life has been a spiritual journey, but I'd say my consciousness, awareness levels, the developing of all that really spiked when I was 18 years old. It all started with this journal. This is my very first journal. And when I finished it, I told myself I would make an online journal. That online journal was my YouTube channel, which is, I love it. I love it a lot. But yes, the whole story. Wow. When I was 18 years old, I was playing lacrosse that spring year and couldn't go to sleep one day. So I wanted to learn how to astral project. I know. What a wonderful thought. I did this meditation by a man who changed my life later on, which was Ryan Cropper. And the video is entitled How to Get Yourself Out of Your Body Tonight. And oh man, I felt the vibrations. I felt the vibrations that night. Granted, I did have a little experience, but the importance was the vibrations. To me, that's what made it real. I'd never felt a sensation like that up until that point. So the next day, I went and talked to all my friends. I remember literally walking through the halls and looking at them, being like, I astral projected. I want to tell you at lunch. And they're like, okay. And so I sat with them and I shared the experience with them. Oh man, it couldn't have gone worse. One of them was like, yeah, JC, I've seen Doctor Strange. The joke is Doctor Strange astral projects. Well, I'm never sharing this with you guys again. And from there on, I just kind of just tossed it to the side. Tried to get one of my friends to do it, and it didn't work. Fast forward a little bit, it is now summertime of 2017. I am getting ready to go to college. I try my hand at it again. This time I'm with my middle school best friend, I'm with my middle school best friends, and this is like my home group. This is the last time we're gonna be together. So we're at one of my friends' house, and this is his porch, this is his fireplace. This is the bird's eye view, by the way. So porch and fireplace, and there's 4 chairs over here. So the 3 of them are over here. I decide to go and just lay on the porch. I just go and lay down. Now, I decided to try my hand at this projection method again. I've tried it with no results, really. And I knew you were supposed to take time, but it just, I don't know, wasn't there for me. So I just zone in, fully going for it. And the next thing I know, I'm feeling the vibrations. Oh my God, this is, whoa. And then I'm just enwrapped in this white bubble, and it blows out into a sky of stars. And then the vibrations really kick in. I'm like, oh, I can't. And so I hitch myself out of that state of being, come to here, and there's so much force and pressure and vibration right here. It actually hurts. And now, looking back, I really stimulated my third eye there, my pineal gland, my pituitary gland, that general area. Oh man, it was tough. It was crazy. I told my friends about it, and of course they were not believing, and they were like, you know what, just do it again and tell me what's in my fridge. And yeah. But what happened is I had an increased awareness of my surroundings and internally what was going on. And I felt much more coordinated than I ever have. And that feeling actually lasted into the morning. So afterwards, I started to chase this feeling. And that's actually where this journal comes in. The very first entries of the personal part was about this. August 12th, 2017. Closest to astral projection in a while. Open third eye, had amazing control over the body. 13th and the 14th, nothing. August 15th. Activated third for a few seconds, intense pulling sensations like someone's pulling me out or trying to. What does it mean? If you look, that's a journal. Incredible. And like this whole body, everything red. It's beautiful. I miss it. I really do. But my journal's pretty too. So at the time, I was also dating this one girl who I would continue to be in an official relationship with for the next year, but we'll talk about that. And I tried to explain this stuff to her because I was keeping it a secret from her too. Knowing her through our conversations, she was Christian, but this stuff seemed more sac. Oh, oopsie. Oh, okay. This stuff seemed along the lines of sacrilegion, devil's work, devil's play, and I wanted to show her that it wasn't that. So I sent her a picture one day of my crystals and my journal, and it didn't go so well. I didn't have the ability to really explain what was going on because I didn't have the understanding, and we just kind of called it good when it came to that. We didn't really speak about it for the rest of our relationship, and it kind of caused some tension later on, but we'll talk about that later. As time went on, I started my freshman year at college. I moved away from my hometown, and it was a place to start anew. I felt much more open about expressing my spirituality, and I decided to take the chance to really do that because these people didn't know me before. They didn't have those images of me that I was stuck to, this box that I was stuck to. So I was going to express myself before they put me in a box. As time passed, I started to dive a little bit more into the ability aspect of things. I was still very, very interested in astral projection, but I was mainly working on meditation throughout this time. I was meditating 2 hours a day sometimes, hopefully an hour a day if I could, but an hour to 2 hours a day in solitude in this one room in the gym over there. It was beautiful. It was awesome. I loved it. I took Kundalini yoga at the time, which helped me become more aware of the abilities of the breath, the abilities of intense meditation and emotional purging. It was cool. I had a few interesting experiences. One of the interesting experiences that really, really stuck with me was my realization that there are parallel realities. One time in November, I became very, very sick, so I prepared myself a peppermint tea, some tea to help me out. And it was around 10 a.m. I want to say it was November 21st. That sounds about correct. Or it was in the 20s, early 20s. And as I started to head back to my dorm, I started to feel weird in my head. So drank a little bit more. I decided to lay down in my dorm, and suddenly I just had the worst feeling ever. Boom, just shot out, and it's like my reality just particles, and it came back. And then I'm looking to my right because I got shocked. I was like, what just happened? Look to my right, and my roommate's side was organized like as if no one ever moved in. It was barren. We both had our beds set to the top bunk. His was at the bottom. And I was just sitting there like, what? What? And then I got really, really sick again, so I laid down and came back. And this time, I was wearing clothes that I didn't have. I was a different version of me. I knew I was still me, but I was much more angry. And I looked to my right this time. Mind you, the room is very dark, as if it's nighttime. And again, when I did this, it was 10 a.m. And my room, my dorm, faced the east, so the sun, where the sun rose. And oh my gosh, there was no way that it could have been as dark as it was. Even with the windows closed, everything, I would have needed like 2 layers of blackout blinds. So I look to my right, my roommate's there, and he looks different. He has a hairstyle that he doesn't have now. And on top of the bed, 2 other of the people living on our dorm hall are sitting. And they look different. One that was normally a little bit bigger is a lot skinnier. His hairstyle is different. His hair's longer than normal. And then there was another one at the end who, he looked relatively the same, but it was still odd. And again, I was very angry, so I was like, guys, get the F off of me. Like, I feel sick, I don't want to throw up. And my roommate was like, JC, calm down. And they were like, yeah, JC, like, why are you in such a fit? I was like, please get off, please. And then next thing, and comes back. And that time I just stood up. I was like, I can't handle this anymore. And my roommate walked in right when I came back, and I had to walk through the halls to make sure that feeling was gone, because I did not want to experience it again. This was in November of that year. So for the rest of the year, I kind of carried that with me. Oh, 1 second. Screen. Come on, buddy. There he is. So for so for the rest of the year, I just, I kept meditating, I kept developing. It would be a lot if I told you everything that I did, but I was growing. So come June, June, I finished my first year of college and I realized that it wasn't for me. I went for entrepreneurship, and my goal was to start something that was my creation, my goal. And I learned that college wasn't the path. And this was very stressful because I thought college was my path. I didn't have anything else going on for me. So come summer, I move in with my girlfriend that was still with me throughout all of that. And well, some important things is actually throughout those years, I tried to teach her what I did, what I was experiencing, what I was learning, because around this time I really started to get into manifestation, and I started really manifesting and really going with the flow and understanding the fundamentals of manifestation. And I've really studied manifestation for the past 3 years, so I've definitely done myself a service with that. And I started getting in headspaces which was I wouldn't touch up onto until recently, which is what I call like Godhead, the flow state, where you are everything, where your ego dies and you are everything. I was just touching on that for the first times. So I was trying to explain this to her, and it didn't make sense, it didn't click, but she knew I wasn't lying. So there was a lot of inner turmoil with that. Now, moving on, it's June, I move in with her. Our relationship isn't really doing too well, and we move along with her cousin and one of the guys from the dorms. I wasn't really friends with him, and her roommate, her cousin, I only talked to a few times. So I still didn't have a spiritual outlet in this apartment. Things, they weren't the best. But come September, I started my YouTube channel. I was working crazy overtime hours at this job. I had astral projections like 2-3 times that month of September, and I was like, you know what, I'm buying this camera. And this is where you can really start following along on my journey here. And I'm going to start speaking more about the behind the scenes things. But yeah, I started my first YouTube videos, and the first one I think was how to become yourself, how to become your true self, how to simply become your true self. Love that one. Man, how I've grown. And yeah, I had a good few videos before me and my girlfriend broke up, and I was able to turn off my grieving for a little bit before I really fell. And if you see, there's actually quite a long gap between me uploading one video to the next, because I got shattered. I lost focus of who I was, what I was doing, and what was going on in my head was, how could all this love, this loving spiritual journey, how could all this happen when everything is telling me that it loves me? This is stupid, it's fake, it's dumb. And I just dropped it all because it wasn't making sense with how my life was unfolding versus what I was being told. The fault here is that I didn't know it for myself. I hadn't experienced it. I was going off of what other people were telling me. So I dropped spirituality. Spirituality wasn't ready to drop me. And by spirituality, I mean a conscious journey. Coming back home, coming home to everything. Wow. That was in October, I want to say, when I decided to drop it all, call it fake. In November, I started getting dreams that were actually premonitions of the day I was going to have. Now, this foresight was caused by how I was going to sleep. I started to become very aware of my dreams. The amount of stress that was like keeping me up, I was staying conscious till I fell asleep. And these dreams were my only escape. So I really wanted to milk them for what they were. But I started to put 2 and 2 together. Whoa, my dreams are panning out a certain way, and my day is panning out a certain way. I'm making certain mistakes in dreams, and these situations are presenting themselves in real life. And suddenly, I started to make the change. I started to act differently than I was in my dreams, and my life started to unfold in ways that, it was all going for me. And then I got laid off in January of 2019. So what I was just sharing was November-ish of 2018. So I got laid off in January 2019. Had a lot of money saved up. Decided I was going to take my time before going back to work. And this is where I really started to crank out more of my spirituality. I had the whole day to myself. So I live near a forest. I would go over there and I would go meditate. And when I would go meditate, I was still really struggling with this breakup. Because again, me and my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, were living together. She was very important to me. I wanted to have our relationship be well. So I would go out into the forest and meditate out there, call for help. And I started to come back and I would do meditations where I would close my eyes. I actually have a video, I think it's called 30 Minutes to Magic. And I would do that meditation, and within 30 minutes, I would start seeing through my eyelids, and there would be these faceless beings made out of light, just staring at the foot of my bed, just looking at me. Almost as if like they were, observing me, making sure I was okay. And this kept happening on multiple occasions, and I'm not sure I recorded on every single one of them. I started being visited at night by passerby spirits. I started getting messages on what to do, on very sacred spiritual knowledge and experiences which I literally can't even put into words. And I started to do crazy things. I started to slow down my breathing to degrees which would have made me panic prior to that. And I eventually hunkered down at the end of February, early March, to learn to astral project. And this is what's called the astral projection experiment on my YouTube channel. I think there's a playlist of it. What I did at this time is I mastered getting to the astral projection state of being. However, I was still very scared to actually leave my body and roam. Along with that, I had a lot of demons in my head, a lot of fears, angers, and you can interact with these things face to face in the astrals. And I didn't want to. It felt so much stronger. Emotions were so much more intense there that I didn't want to risk it. So this is around March, end of March of 2019. Fast forward a little bit to June of 2019. It's the end of my lease. I've kind of called it quits in full and getting back with my ex-girlfriend. I've realized that we were two different people, and I learned it too. So I stuck very hard into my spirituality, and this is when I started my emotional cleanse. So my video here is called Facing My Inner Demons. This is where my emotional therapy starts, and I start building my relationship with the elements: fire, earth, water, air, heat, cold, and just learning their healing properties. What is better for what? What is better for grounding? What is better for getting everything out at once? And I started to build relationships with them and really build a relationship with myself. However, I opened Pandora's box, baby. It just blasted my face, and I spiraled emotionally, picked up bad eating habits, picked up a nasty smoking habit, and overall wasn't taking care of myself, and I landed in the hospital. Now at this time, this is where I really started to learn about food and the intimacy of food and the spiritual journey and how close health and spiritual journey are. So after coming out of the hospital, I decided that it was time for me to really learn about fasting and get good at fasting. So I started intermittent fasting. And prior to this, I was trying to fast, but I wasn't doing it correctly. And this time I really switched up my diets, and it was awesome. It was amazing. And I really started to learn what hunger was. And I started to understand emotional eating and all these things. And I started making very great strides in cleaning my body and cleaning my mind. At the time, I didn't really realize it because I had nothing to compare it to. I had kicked all my old habits, and so, I was doing well. So as time went on, I made some friends, I learned a lot of things, and then comes December of 2019. This is when things are important again. Well, it's all important, but this is when things really start to take a turn. Oh, not again. Please. Really long story. Okay, there we go. It is now December of 2019, And my ex-girlfriend comes back into my life. We'd kind of called it quits in terms of like even a friendship at that point. And so we start coming back together and mending and healing, and I'm helping her. And at this time, I get a little bit of an emotional turmoil. I realize I hadn't really worked on that aspect of my emotional healing. I essentially tried to ignore it. And all these old habits and things came back. All these old mindsets came back. And since I had cleaned myself, most mentally and physically, I started to feel how these old mindsets were dragging me down. I started to feel how my poor eating habits, or they weren't even poor eating habits, I had just graduated from certain types of food that I was now eating again. And it was weird. It was odd. You can, if you watch, I think it's from December to March, you can actually see me put on weight. My cheeks start to get a little bit bigger at this time compared to how they was before. And this is it. it was odd. I honestly have a lot of explanations for it, but that's not important. What's important here is it affected me. I felt it. I felt every single inch of it. My gut stopped feeling as well. I stopped being as happy. I actually picked up my smoking again, and I could feel the pain in my lungs. It wasn't as it was before. Before, I just didn't notice it. I didn't care. And so over time, I fell a little bit. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I was helping her with her stuff. But life got to her, and she had to go move. She had to go move in with her family. So that was kind of the end of that chapter. After, a year and a half, around a year and a half of just this emotional turmoil. That was the end of it. So I started my healing journey again at February 2020. And at this time, I'm still kind of in the midst of it, but now I had really learned about food. I had grown manifestation throughout all these years. And now, granted, I haven't manifested large things, but it's because I don't need to. Oh, just talk to me. It's free. I'll tell you all about it. Sales pitch, baby. But I started to work on astral projection again. That is astral projection reconditioning over on the YouTube channel. I've fixed and broken relationships multiple times, so if you need relationship help, I got you. Friendship help, anything. I didn't say it, but I dropped out of college, so if you need to mend relationships with parents, I'm there too. And just, yeah, it was a crazy history. It was a crazy history leading all up to here. But once I started to do all this, people really started to reach out to me. People really started wanting my help, and it meant a lot because I like to give help, and I like to grow in the same way. I like to see where people are on their journey, and I like to see how I can draw things that they do that inspire me and pull it into my life, and see what they like from my life and pull it into theirs. And it's kind of like, we're a little spiral. We're never fusing into one, but we're each doing a nice dance around each other. And yeah, man, it's a little quick rundown of my history. I could give you the whole rundown, but that'd probably take like 2 to 3 hours. But yeah, my consultations are free. I'd love to talk to you, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your days. Peace.